Hello, everyone. This is Rina tuning in from my house here in Bulgaria. And I am about to share a story with you. Actually, I'm about to share a couple of stories with you. The main theme of which is how I caught suffering in a lie. Now, it's been a long time since I last shared a video or a podcast, or I've been consistently posting on social media. And there is a reason for that. I have been going through an intense transformation behind the scenes, and it's a transformation like I've never experienced in my life. We often hear about birth and death and rebirth, and when it comes to transformations and spirituality and awakening. And I feel like I've known what that means intellectually. I perhaps have gone through a couple of those transformations on a lower level, so to speak. But what have happened in the past year has been absolutely wrecking for my human self and absolutely life giving to the other part of me, to a higher part of me. And so there is a lot to share in that regard. And as I continue showing up and sharing my realizations and insights with you, I will unfold and unveil the whole story. But what I want to share with you today is the story of how I caught suffering in a lie. And the story I want to begin with, it's the story when I went for a very long hike with my then partner and our dog in the mountains of Bulgaria. We wanted to go to this very famous place called the Seven Rila Lakes. And to reach there, you have to catch well, you don't really catch it. You have to jump on this lift going very high up the mountains. And it's an open lift. So the cabin that you sit in is actually open. And so not only is it open, but there is barely any safety. The only safety that you have is one of those metal bars that you just put in front of you, and that's about it. Your legs are hanging and you feel the breeze, you feel the wind, you look down, you absolutely see everything underneath your feet, the height, which was, I don't know how many meters is that in height, but it's very, very, very high. So just to give you a point of reference, and there were one of those trees, like very, 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 very high trees, as tall as skyscrapers, and we were way above the top of those trees. And the journey from the base of that lift station to the top of the lift station was about 20 to 25 minutes. And so, in those 20 to 25 minutes, what I did is I realized how fleeting was the nature of fear, and how there was nothing that fear can grab onto to exist apart from your thoughts. As I was going up with that lift, initially, my first instinctive response when the height became really high and I looked down and I almost felt dizzy was to feel extreme panic and anxiety. And I was alone on that lift cabin because my ex partner, was with our dog on the cabin behind me. He had to take our dog because our dog is like 30 kg. It's a big dog. He had to take it and grab it like very tightly and jump onto the cabin bench with the dog and put the bar and hold the dog for those 20 minutes until we reached. So I was alone in front of them. And so, because I was alone, that was actually brilliant as an experience because I had nobody to lean on but myself for comfort. And so, as I was going up and the height was becoming very high, the panic kicked in, the anxiety kicked in, my heartbeat started racing. Obviously, I'm like straight into the fight or flight, and I can barely even think at this point. I'm just I'm just like in panic, and the thought that I caught myself having in that moment was, this is high, this is too high, I'm gonna die. If I actually fall from this, I'm gonna die. And so that thought of, shit, this is too high, I'm gonna die, produced unbearable panic and anxiety within my body. And the only space, there was actually no space. The only priority for me at that point became reaching the end as soon as possible, counting the seconds, counting the minutes for me to reach to that point so I can be safe. And as the panic was increasing, um, I started thinking, wait a second. I know that my emotions are produced by my thoughts. At that point, I've been in the coaching industry, in the personal development journey of my life, so to speak. I don't know if I was coaching at that point, but I was really deep into personal development and studying about the human mind and how it all works. And so I knew that our thoughts produce our emotions. And I was like, okay, this is too much for me to handle. Can I actually apply the knowledge that I have in this moment to change the way I feel? Because if I have to feel that for the next 20 minutes, this is going to be just really bad. And so I did. What I tested in that moment is to tell myself, wow, look at the beauty around you. Wow, this is absolutely stunning. And and as I started telling that to myself, consciously choosing my thought, I looked around and it seemed like in a second I saw something I haven't seen before. It was there right in front of me, but I haven't seen it. It was the beautiful, absolutely stunning landscape in front of me. The sun shining behind the huge mountains, the beautiful trees just like opening in front of me because it was, so the lift was going first up like very, very high. Then we reached one point where it was it was like the top of the highest top of the, I don't know, of the mountain. Then it started going down again before it went again up a little bit. And so and so it was absolutely stunning, beautiful. I saw the birds flying, I saw the sun shining, I could smell the smell of the pine trees around me, and I was in bliss. I was in ecstasy. I was like, whoa, this is beautiful. And in that split second, even though it's a little over the top as a thought, I thought to myself, even if I die, this is beautiful. And also, I thought to myself, I have no control over what's going to happen right now. Like, there is no there is nothing that I can think or do right now to control whatever it is that may or may not happen. And so just that thought of releasing control, releasing the illusory sense of control, because I had no control. Like the brain thinks that the more it worries, the more it panics, the better chance it has to do something about a potential threat or for its survival. But in reality, it's like we can't do anything. And so I just thought that to myself. I was like, wow, I actually have no control. And I have no control, and that's liberating. That's absolutely liberating. So what I can do instead is I can choose. I can choose to appreciate the beauty. And I started just appreciating everything. And then in a split second, I thought, okay, that's actually beautiful. Let me test the opposite again. And so I looked down and I allowed myself to feel the fear again, to actually have the thought of, shit, this is too high. I'm going to fall. I'm going to crash my head on one of those rocks down there. And so the fear started coming back again. Like I started feeling the same panic, the same everything. And then I looked back again to like further down the horizon in the landscape. And then I started feeling the peace again and the appreciation and the beauty. And so what I did for those 20 minutes was I was playing around with my psyche just to test how actually fleeting is the nature of fear and how dependent it is on our thoughts, and how in reality we do have a choice over our thoughts. Thoughts are optional. We get to choose what to think. And this is it's not something new. It's not something that I have found myself. People have known that for years. Like it's not something I've discovered. People know it, but like we don't practice it. And so when we practice it, when I practiced it in that moment, I was like, whoa, this is mind blowing. And and there was another story that also proved my thoughts as this lies that we believe that can cause us suffering. And I also want to share that story with you. I have a couple of other stories to share, but I want to share also this one with you. And then I'm going to make sense of all of it and I'm going to wrap it in a nice little insight. But this story is a story of when I caught myself or caught my thoughts lying to me, causing me fear and anxiety once again for absolutely no reason. And that was when I first started coaching people. And I was absolutely terrified that I'm bad, that I'm not good enough, that I don't know what I'm doing, that people will think I'm stupid, that I'm just gonna end up being embarrassed. And I was, as I said, I was really deep into personal development at the time, because you cannot not be. Like coaching is all about that, and the first person that we need to coach is ourselves, to go to move through all of the blockages we have to be able to actually help others, though it's impossible to move through all of them. But what I experienced was very interesting. I was on a call with one of my first clients, a lady that really had a very tough situation. And I was on a call with her for a very long time. I don't even remember how long we were on a call. But what I remember is that I was trying to help her so bad. And I really felt for her. I had a lot of empathy, a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding. I was trying to be just as helpful as possible. And that lady was very quiet. She barely showed any emotion. You could barely read what she was thinking on her face. She had one of those, she had a body language which you couldn't necessarily read. And she had one of those faces that you also can't really tell what she's thinking, what she's feeling. She was not really expressive. She was very reserved, very um uh passive in a sense. She was very scarce with her words, with her feedback, with her sharing, right? Like obviously she had a very tough situation and she was expressing as much as she could, and I was helping. I mean, I was trying to help. I was like trying to ask questions, to talk, to see where the insights, what we can get there that can help her. And the quieter she was, and the more reserved she was, the more panicked I became, the more anxious I became. Because what was happening in my mind at that time was, oh my God, this lady, she absolutely hates me. She thinks I'm bad. She thinks I'm not good at what I'm doing. She thinks that she's wasting her time. Um she thinks that I'm just this young little girl that has no idea what she's doing, because she was probably twice my age at the time. I was 20. At the time, I was 24, I think, and she was way over her 40s, probably even 50s. I don't know. And I was like, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, like this is just the worst coaching session ever. Like, this is just the worst coaching session ever. I'm just bad. Like, what is this? This person is just absolutely like disappointed by my services. And so, of course, I did what I could. I gave everything I could from myself, and I finished the coaching call. I don't actually remember. Did she write that to me or did she say it in the end of the conversation? I think she wrote that to me like maybe a couple of hours after we we stopped the call. She told me, Darina, this was the most transformative session I've ever had in my life. You can't imagine the insights that I got. You can't believe the breakthrough that I experienced. I'm mind blown, and I can't thank you enough for freeing me from my suffering or something like that. I don't recall exactly her words, but it was something like that. And in that moment, I thought, wow, wow, whilst this person was having an absolutely transformative experience, what I was doing was projecting my own fears of not being good enough on her and interpreting her lack of facial expressions and her inability to express her emotions as loud as I would, perhaps, like, because people are different. People are different. It's not that something is wrong with her, that she's not doing it like in a proper way. There is no proper way of feeling and expressing yourself. It's just the way she is. She's just that type of person who is a little bit more reserved. But because I am used to, first of all, I'm very expressive with my emotions, but also because I'm used to always needing to read people's emotions properly, because I was um, just conditioned to be hyper vigilant and hypersensitive, because I was raised in a very emotionally unstable like household. So that was like for my survival. I had to always read the room, read the expressions of my parents, so I know whether someone would snap and be angry and there's going to be conflict. So it was my thing. It was my thing. It was never her thing. But I let myself have thoughts that had no ground on anything. And I let those thoughts affect me and cause me immense anxiety and cause me to, when we ended the call, to believe I'm a terrible coach and I shouldn't be doing this and I'm just bad. Whilst the reality was completely different. And so this story is again to show how how thoughts are simply not true. Most of the time our mind is just talking. It's just talking and it's just telling lies. And we have to learn how to not believe those lies. We have to learn how to transcend that illusion and just just simply not believe what our thoughts would say. And this is when I also discovered the method of factualizing reality. So, what I mean by that is when something like that happens and we, let's say, we catch ourselves having extreme fear, anxiety, worry, whatever it is, there is always a thought causing it. And that thought is most of the time just not true. Just like in that case, I had the thought of, I'm a terrible coach, I'm not good at what I'm doing. And it's because this person is not showing any emotions. And she's passive and she's reserved and she's not saying anything. And that was just not the truth. So, what was the truth in that situation? Well, if we look at the facts and the reality, it would sound something like that. There is this person that I'm speaking to, and that person is speaking a lot less than me. And therefore, that means I'm a terrible coach and I'm bad at what I'm doing and I should quit. Like, what? No. What? Why does it have to mean anything? You know what I mean? It's like, it's just what it is. That like we make it a very factual circumstance. There is a person on the phone that I'm talking to. She is speaking, just not as much as me. Boom. End of story. Everything else, everything else apart from that factual claim is personal subjective interpretation. And that personal subjective interpretation is based on my own mind drama that I have accumulated throughout the years from my own childhood experience, teenagers, blah, 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 and I continue accumulating. So mind is never reliable because mind will always interpret shit in a way that they're not actually true. And so I have a lot more of those stories, stories of introspection, stories of realizations, of the illusory nature of fear, of suffering. And I have been catching a lot of them throughout my life since my early 20s, where I got into personal development and spirituality and I started digging into the human mind, into my own psyche, into the nature of reality, of what's real, what's true, what's beyond all of that world that we see. And all of that experience and the little stories that have helped me realize things that I wouldn't have actually otherwise realized have all led me to a very recent experience in my life where I was in a very dark place, which is another story that I'm going to share another time. But in the depths of that inferno, as Dante calls it in Divine Comedy, or hell, there was no light there. There was nothing, no hope, no no joy, no certainty, no nothing. It was only suffering, it was only darkness, it was only confusion about my own existence, about who I am, about what am I even doing here, what's the purpose of life, well, what's the meaning of all of that, what's my character. I couldn't even tell what's real and what's not. I couldn't tell what's right and what's wrong, what's true, what's false. I was in a complete despair and a um complete like moment of where nothing made sense but annihilation. That was like the whole the okay, my being was overwhelmed with that sense of nothing matters anymore but only suffering. And one of the overwhelming emotions that were consuming me was shame and guilt for certain things that have happened in my life, and a deep sense of regret and inability to change anything, right? And so and so that was probably the longest I've suffered ever continuously, because usually when you're going through a hard time you have ups and downs, right? Like you're suffering, you're going through something, but then like life keeps going, so you keep going with it. So like even if you're depressed or you're feeling bad or sad, like life keeps going, so you would have moments of like joy and ups and whatever. I barely had any. It was just continuous, tedious suffering. And so and so it wasn't until maybe 6 or 7 months of that continuous thing that I had an experience in which all of a sudden I somehow got the cosmic joke. I somehow realized that nobody was causing that suffering to me but me. And not me, the real me, the one observing and enjoying life, but my human avatar, my ego self, that was so identified with my thoughts that I absolutely believed they're real. I believed that I don't deserve goodness. I believed I didn't deserve happiness. I believed that I'm just a bad person and I shouldn't have good things. I believed that I shouldn't even set goals for myself. I shouldn't have any visions for my life. I should just be of service to people and just completely eradicate myself because my existence was not good for human. I don't know. I was in a deep cycle of despair, and I was on another hike that day. I was on another hike, and nothing particularly different was happening that day. Um, I was just going up the hill again, another hill, and I'm just climbing. It's like stairs, a lot of stairs. And then at the top of the hill, you reach this monument, like a monument, and then there is this beautiful view that just opens in front of you, and it's pretty nice, especially after you have exhausted yourself climbing up the stairs. Having that nice view is just it's beautiful. And so I'm climbing and I'm like running, I'm jogging, I'm going up the stairs, and with each step I take, I start noticing the leaves of the trees around me, and I start noticing my breath, and I start smiling, and I start having a thoughts of "Ah, life is beautiful. Wow, look at this." And then I'm like, okay, that's new. That's positive. Where did that come from? And then I continue jogging, and I have more and more energy in me. And then I keep going, and I'm like, whoa, I'm good. That was the thought I had. I'm okay. I'm I'm good. Wow. I keep going. I keep jogging, and then oh, that overwhelmed sense of okayness just to washed over me. And by the time I reached the highest point, and I reached that monument, and that view opened in front of me, I suddenly start laughing as this sense of overwhelming joy and gratitude and love just embraces me. My whole body starts tingling. My whole body just starts tingling from this energy that is just too much for me to handle. So I start like shaking, and I start jumping, and I start like twitching, and I'm like, whoa, this is big. This is what is this? Then I see everything around me, and I'm like, where have I been? Where have I been this whole time? Look at this beauty. Look at this amazingness. Look at this life. Damn. And I start feeling so much gratitude. Like I feel so blessed. Like it's like the sense that I got is like I just won the lottery, and I'm just the most blessed, luckiest person in the entire world. And I can't believe how I got to experience this beauty and this amazing gift of life. Like, I was so grateful to be alive. I was so grateful that I'm breathing. I'm so grateful that I see that beautiful view in front of me, that I have the legs to climb that stairs, to taste, to see, to smell, to all of that. I felt like I was born again. Something happened. Couldn't I couldn't process what happened, but I just knew that all of that suffering that I have been going through and experiencing and for the past months was my doing. It was not happening to me. There was nothing happening to me. What I realized is when I looked around me, there was no suffering. There was nothing. Like all of those thoughts that I was telling myself was not they weren't truths that were out there that I can look at and be like, yes, that's it. Like, see, your life is miserable. You're going through a hard financial time. You're going through a hard relational time. You're going through this and this and this. Is like, you see, it's like, no, I look around and I see none of that. I see none of that. The only place that I see that is in here, is in my mind. But when I look outside of my mind, none of that is true. And so it's almost like I got the cosmic joke. I got the cosmic joke. I'm not saying I got the whole truth of existence, but I got the cosmic joke of nobody's doing anything to me. Nobody's doing anything to me. I was doing it to myself. And in that moment, I remember Byron Katie. I don't know if you're familiar with her work. She has she has a book called The Work, and it's written because of her own experience in a very similar experience to mine, though hers was 10 years of suffering. And she woke up one day on the floor. She was sleeping on the floor because she didn't believe she deserved to sleep in a bed. And so she woke up one morning and she saw a cockroach crawling over her food. And all of a sudden she got it. She got it that suffering was nowhere to be found but in her mind. She realized that when she thinks good thoughts, there is no suffering. When she thinks bad thoughts, there is suffering. And I think the most profound point here is realizing that you have a choice. The thoughts are optional. We get to choose them. And it's like, what? We get to choose them? Are you kidding me? Are you saying that I don't have to repeat to myself that I'm a bad person and that I live in a terrible circumstances and that I am just living this bad life that you're telling me that I get to choose what to tell myself? Wow, I like that. And so in that moment, she got that. She got that. I don't know if it's the same experience we've had, but it sounds pretty similar to me. And then she came up with the work. So the work has to do with 4 questions. I haven't done it in a long time. I knew about it for years, but I haven't done it or read it in a very long time. Um, but it has to do with 4 questions. So when you catch yourself having a spiral of negative thoughts or that's causing you negative emotions, you just ask yourself the question. Question number 1 is this true? So for example, let's take the example with the woman that I was coaching. My thought was, I'm a terrible coach. She's having the worst experience of her life. Is that true? I don't know actually if it's true. Second question is that really true? Because on the first question, usually the mind would say, yeah, of course it's true. Look at her. Like she's not saying anything. She's so the mind would justify and say, yes, it's true. It's really true. So the second question is that really true? I mean, can I be absolutely certain with 100% that this is true? Well, not really. I can't be because I'm not inside of her mind. So I can't really know that that's true. And so, third question in the work is, who would I be without that thought? Who would I be without that thought? And it's almost like, as Byron Katie says, it's almost like trying an outfit. You don't have to buy it yet, but you can try it on and see how it feels. So, for example, who would I be without that thought? And what if I choose a different thought? What if I choose to believe that she is quiet because she's really enjoying what I'm saying and she's really benefiting from what I'm saying? And what if I choose to believe that she is simply that type of person and it has nothing to do with me or my coaching abilities? Who would I be if I believed that? Well, I would be someone who is gonna be even more competent and skillful at helping because I would not be busy worrying that I might be bad. I would just be in the present moment helping. And so there's a little bit more about the work. So I actually recommend you read it. It's a very insightful book. She also has a lot of YouTube videos that you can check out, doing the work with people real time. And so I find this extremely helpful as a practical tool, a practical something that you can implement and start questioning your own thoughts. Because what I came to realize is that my mind is a fucking liar. It just keeps lying all the time. And on top of the fact that it's lying, I have a very overactive ego. So I'm thinking a lot and my mind is very fast. And I have some ADHD, and I'm just an overthinker in general. It, and so my mind talks a lot. And most of the things that it's saying are absolute bullshit. And so when I went through that experience in which I realized that suffering is not out there, but it's always in here, I started choosing joy and freedom and faith and happiness and love and excitement. And not only I started choosing it consciously, but also I cannot not choose it, because there is nothing but all of that. Like everything else is an illusion. Fear is an illusion. All of that is an illusion. The only real thing is actually beauty and love. And even when, especially now, since I'm in my parents' house, therefore I have a lot of interaction with my parents. You know that no matter how enlightened you are, your parents are the people who can really just like bring you to a point of complete, yeah, you know. So and so my parents are probably the people who trigger me the most, and I think that might be true for most of humanity. And so after that experience, what I started realizing is that I see them doing something that would otherwise trigger me, or saying something that would otherwise trigger me, and I just see them, and I see them, and I'm thinking, oh, I know why she's doing that. Oh, she must be suffering. Oh, I know why she's saying that. She's projecting because she actually feels pain inside of her. And instead of being triggered, now I look at them and I feel compassion and I feel joy, and I don't feel the need that I previously felt. And that need to, like, um the most basic needs, which is to be liked, to be validated, to be loved, to not be abandoned, to be taken care of, to have connections, like all of those things, they're needs we have, not just with our parents, with partners, with friends, with family in general. And so my whole life I've been extremely anxious as a person, because my need to be liked and loved and validated was so depleted, and it was so big that I would do anything just to get it. So um I was really just a social chameleon my whole life, performing and being anybody people wanted me to be, just so I can be liked and loved. And so at some point I didn't even know who I was, because if it was about me and asking me, what do I want, or who do I want to be, or what is it that I actually desire, if there was nobody out there to please, I didn't know. I had no idea, because I've learned just to be everyone people wanted me to be, and to want what people would approve of, or to want things that will make me look good, even though it's not really what I wanted. And so, why am I saying that? Is because that need that the little girl in me had was always there. Was always there, even up until recently. Maybe still is. I don't know. But after that experience, it felt like that need was no longer there, or at least it wasn't as present, because I got such an overwhelming sense of love and connection to God and to something higher than me, to a part of me that I didn't even know, that I saw that little piece of divine nature in everyone, in my parents who trigger me, in everyone. And so, and I also got the human side of me. I got it. I'm like, I know why you need that. I get it. I know you. I love you, but it's okay. It's kind of like that void was filled. And it wasn't filled by something. I mean, it was filled by something, but it's almost like I realized that it wasn't that part of me, that human ego part of me was not the real me or all of me. It was a part of me, but the real bigger me was there. She lacked nothing, and she was part of something much higher, much bigger, and it was good. And so I hope that you enjoyed those stories. I hope that this episode has given you something to ponder on, has given you some insights. And I wanted to share all of that with you to remind you that we can catch suffering in a lie anytime. We can choose consciously, and we can wake up to something truer about our reality that has nothing else but freedom and love filled in it. And most importantly, peace. Peace that nothing else can give you. And yes, there is going to be a follow up to those stories. The story, there is one big journey that's unfolding, consisting of little stories that I'm going to be sharing over time. So if you're curious, stay tuned. And if you have had experiences such as mine, I would love to hear about them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.